Good afternoon, Bulldog fans, and welcome to On the Pitch with head women's soccer coach, Coach Alicia Wilson. Coach, it is great to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
Last time you and I sat down and talked was September 27th.
Wow.
Seems like a day and forever, too.
Yes.
And it was right when the Lady Dogs are having a big run in conference play, and it started with Trinity Valley. We played them at home. It was a big game. We came out on top 2-0, 2-0. Then Tyler came to town, another big match, another big win for the Bulldogs. We came out on top 2-1. And then we played Paris, Northeast. Then just this past week, we've had our out-of-town matches with Trinity Valley and Tyler, coming out with wins on both ends of that. So in that roughly month span, the Bulldogs have been 6-0, which is absolutely fantastic. When we started this September 27th, you were number 1 in the nation. And to this point now, you are still number 1 in the nation. And I've noticed there's about 3 or 4 teams down below that are also undefeated. Yes. As far as not having losses. They do have ties, but right now we're feeling pretty good about the way we're playing overall. So in that span of those 6 games where you went 6-0, let's put both TVCC games together and just give us a brief overview of those games, the home and away games.
For the home game, we obviously knew how they were coming in to play us because we watched the game with them versus TJC, and so it was a tiny bit different, but we knew they were going to sit in, and so what does that, we call it park the bus. So what that means is if you're going up against a stronger opponent, you stack everyone behind the ball, and so you're trying to capitalize on any mistakes that you can. And so earlier in the first half, we had a breakaway from Zoe Nelson, and she got fouled in the box, and we got a penalty kick. And then it was the same throughout the game. They were just sit in, so that prevents us from getting spaces in behind. And so we kept the ball, kept possession, and then close towards the end, they were trying to press for the equalizer, and then we exploited them and get through and got a goal. So we won that one 2-0.
Speaking of 2-0, in the 2 matches against TVCC, we had 2 shutouts. So yes. The goalie play, well, not only goalie play, but your defense played well. Yes, they all played well in both of those games against a team that you and I very well know that at any point in time can just blow the roof off of any game.
Yes.
So let's talk about the Tyler game. You had a big win last week, a huge win at their place. Tell everybody, let's talk about last week specifically just because of everything that went on there. You and I talked before we got on air about the setting. So explain to everybody the setting you and your team walked into once you got to Tyler.
Oh yeah, it was. We knew it that it was going to be a boisterous crowd and loud and everything. They had a band, they had cheer, they had faculty and staff, they had football, they have student body. They had a big cookout before the game, and it's a whiteout game, and everybody's in white. They're given white T-shirts and stuff. So basically what I said to my group was we have to be locked in. We're our team's biggest support, and so everybody just came together. And so, we went up with a score first half, quiet the crowd, and then like 3 minutes after that, they came back and scored, and then they got back in the game. So it was rowdy and loud, and so obviously a lot of calls didn't go in our favor. It was heavily favoring them, obviously, home field advantage, but we knew that going in. So as I said, I psychologically prepared the team for that. And then in the second half, they had an opportunity we went ahead 2-1. They had an opportunity to tie it up. They scored it, but it was offsides. And immediately when we get the ball and went back the other end, we went ahead and scored. And so from there, we just ran away with the game. The coach wasn't happy, complaining, all that. Really didn't shook our hands at the end. But obviously, it's a rival. Everybody knows that. But it was our first win in about 9 to 10 seasons down in Tyler.
That's huge.
That's huge. And the way that we did it. So we did it without any question. It was a big score, and so very proud of the girls just in the way they carried themselves.
And that was going to be my next thing to bring up to you. You know, in the soccer atmosphere, junior college soccer atmosphere, you know, you've got fans, but you don't have the number that you faced when you showed up to Tyler. And, you know, like you said, they're not nice. No, they're not talking nice. They're not encouraging. No. They're very, they're just rowdy.
Yeah.
So what is it? Because I'd be proud as a coach for the way your ladies handled that whole atmosphere.
Yes.
Being able to maintain their composure. You know, everybody gets frustrated and there's ups and downs, you know, individually, emotionally. But what is it that you feel like your team has that separates them from everybody else when it comes to that mental toughness?
I think they know that we trust them. And so when you have trust, you have that level of confidence, knowing that the coaches believe in you and that your teammates believe in you. And so our captains have also done really well in terms of holding the group to a higher standard in terms of people see the bigger picture, but it's the small things behind the scene, like showing up on time, doing your exercises, doing your workouts when you're supposed to, your stretches, going over film. So different little things behind the scene, taking your ice baths for recovery when you're supposed to. So it's the little things behind the scene, the discipline. And so when you get the discipline right in the small areas, then it will replicate on the broader spectrum of things.
Well, Coach, it is very obvious in that 6-game span you had 4 shutouts. The Bulldogs, of course, are nationally ranked. The only other team in our conference that is nationally ranked is Tyler. And at the time of last week's game, they were number 10 while we were number 1. And so it's kudos to you and your staff and the girls for fighting through, because it's not like everybody's just healthy and ready to go. You've battled some injuries and you've had some girls to step up. So it's really just really nice to be able to see that you've got the depth that you need as well. So.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk conference standings now, because today's game is the last conference game for the Bulldogs, and our conference standings are important as they get seeded for the conference tournament. And after I give you the standings, we'll talk to Coach a little bit more about what the conference tournament will look like. So Navarro's in the North Conference, or the North Zone of the conference, and we are 9-0 at this time. TVCC is 9-3. TJC is 7-3. Paris is 4-7, and in Northeast is 0-9. And in the South Zone, Angelina is 7-3. Blinn is 6-5. Texas Southmost College is 2-6, and then Jacksonville College is 0-8 at this time. All right, those are the standings before the conference tournament. So after today's game and after others play, Coach, just give us a little breakdown of the conference tournament, possibly the sites where some of the games would be played, and give us a little background on that.
So for us, one thing we know, since we're obviously number 1 ranked and we're on top of the zone, even top of the region, we're gonna host throughout playoffs, including the district. So for us, we just have to focus one game at a time, and as long as we're winning, we're gonna be playing at home. Now, our first quarterfinal game will be against the 4th place team in the South, which potentially should be Jacksonville. And then our 2nd place team plays their 3rd place team, and then our 3rd place team plays their 2nd place team, and then their first place team, which is Angelina, will play our the North Zone fourth place team. And so that's how it stack up. Then 1 day's rest, and then you play the semifinal. 1 day's rest, and then you play the final. So it's a lot of games within, like 3 games within about 6 days. So that's a lot. And so we know what's coming. We know we're probably going to play some of those tough teams again, like TVCC and Tyler. But we're just taking it 1 game at a time. We're not overthinking. We're not putting our hats ahead of anything. We focus on the next opponent, and we'll prepare just like that.
And you've been doing that all year.
We've been doing that all year.
And
yes.
it's paid off very, very well. And like you said before we got on the air, you prepare as if the team you are playing is the number 1 team.
Yes, always.
Okay, well that leads us to today's game against Paris. And just like you said before we started the show, you're preparing like they're the number 1 team, and
yes.
You're trying to put your best foot forward. So give us a little breakdown of this Paris game.
Yeah, so Paris, it's funny because there are several teams that went over and played them and only got 1 goal against them. So Tyler only beat them 1-0. TVCC only beat them 1-0 over there. Obviously, because the field is not the nicest. They were very tough when we went over there and played them. Was only 1-0 at halftime. So we broke the deadlock at the second half. Obviously, they're coming here to our pitch. We have a better field. We have the spaces that we can play into, and that's what we're going to be trying to do. And also, they're a team that sits as well. So it's very difficult to break down a sitting team, but I feel with our players and the ability that we have, we're going to get some looks. We're going to get some opportunities, and so we're looking to take advantage of those when we get them.
Yes, this won't be the first time. You're right. This is not the first time you've played against somebody that just sits.
Yes. So we're getting a lot of that. We're
Wow.
getting a lot of that because teams know if they open up and play us normal, then they don't have a chance. So they're just trying to get results rather than trying to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Advantage Bulldogs, let's say.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the important part of today's game is the fact that it's the final conference game. You want to go out with a win and maintain your position and
Yes.
maintain that momentum that you've developed over the previous 6 games. But more importantly, today's game is sophomore day. You recognize
Yes.
your sophomore. So we talked a little bit about you having the opportunity to talk a little bit about them and share what they've meant to the program and what they continue to mean to the program and their contributions. So the floor is yours with those sophomores.
Yes, really gonna miss them. I have 10 returning sophomores and 2 transfers. And so there's the leadership, the experience, just because they were with us when we went to the national tournament last year. And we were a penalty shot, a sudden death penalty shot away from making the semifinals. And so they've always had that hunger of wanting to go back to the national tournament, which I know at this point we will be going. We just have to finish out and win like titles, right? The region championship, the district. But as I said, we're wanting to take that 1 game at a time. But players like Wakana Osei out of Japan, the amazing thing, I know I didn't mention this, but her parents flew from Japan and traveled to Tyler to watch her play, and she scored the 3rd goal.
Wow.
So I'm sure that was unbelievable for her. She was in tears, like so happy. We have Ellie Sutherlock from Houston. We have Keely Hiran from Waxahachie. We have Madeline Davis. We have Dejane Pinto. We have Mavis Ankoma. We have Laurencia Yaboa out of Ghana. She actually transferred from TJC to come to us, and she scored against them. She was so happy. And then we have some other sophomores that obviously don't get a lot of playing time, but are very supportive behind the scene, like Cameron McDonald. She's from Maybank. And am I missing anyone? I think that's about who we have. But as I said, very supportive, very positive, just very helpful, not making it about them, but more about the team. And so we really appreciate all our sophomores. We're going to honor them, have a little, flower stuff for them and plaques, having their parents walk them out before the game and just thanking them for being a part of the program, because without them, the success that we're having would be very difficult.
Well, last year when we talked, you talked about them as freshmen being really a special group, and it shows, because all those little things that you've talked about, showing up on time, ice baths when you need it, getting your exercise, warming up, being on time to everything that you do, those kind of things have really shown, because you have a very solid team, and they're like teachers, they're like coaches, they're mentors.
Yes.
I mean, there's a different aura about your team because of that leadership with the sophomores, I think.
Yes, it is. Especially, I have 2 other sophomores that I didn't mention, Caitlin Sterling and Marjorie Trejo. And especially Marjorie, we currently have one kid from Argentina. She's a starting center back, Charo Rodriguez, the goalkeeper from Guatemala. And Marjorie she speaks Spanish. And so she's taken on that leadership role in explaining things to them a little bit, because sometimes, the language barrier sometimes, right, in terms of native speakers, certain words are like, what does that mean? Or so she's done a great job of bringing them, letting them feel welcome and feel comfortable. And so I really appreciate that. Those were the bonds and the because imagine, you're far away from home, and you don't have that kind of help or support. Yes, the support comes from the staff, but we only can be around them for how often, right? And then in the dorms, then you have your teammates who are really helpful and supportive, and that makes a big difference, because they're your family away from your family. So it's huge.
It is, and it's sad that you only get a couple of years with them.
I know.
Your bond, I can tell that the bond that you have with them now is a very, very strong bond.
It is, and I have players today. I have one playing for the Tampa Bay Sun in the Women's Professional League. Mm-hmm. And she reaches out all the time. We talk. You have players in Idaho. I have players just all over. And they're always reaching back out and just, trying to find out, how are you doing, coach? Or how is the team? Or just telling me about things that are happening with them, where they are. And so even for advices, and I still advise them. I still give them, advice and support from afar.
Looking for their second mom. Hey, Mom. Hey, look what I did. Here's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Well, that's a very nice tribute to you, with them continuing to reach out and talk and at times seek advice from you. That should mean a lot to you. I know, being a former coach, those kind of things really
it means more than the wins.
It does.
It's the wins, you like them and stuff, but it's the relationships and the mentor, the growth that you've seen in those kids when you first got them, and now, just how they're growing and learning and just becoming amazing people. That's most important to me.
Yeah. That gives you the satisfaction of why you get called coach.
Yeah.
That's it, for sure.
Yes.
Well, there you have it. We've heard it all here from Coach Wilson. It's a big game, big home game. It's sophomore day, sophomore afternoon for the Bulldogs. So if you're unable to make it out to the game, enjoy the stream, whether you're in the great state of Texas, whether you're somewhere across the United States of America, or whether you're out there around the world. Enjoy a great soccer game as the Bulldogs play their final conference game here at home against Paris. Sophomore day, just wherever you are, just wish these girls the best of luck. They know you're pulling for them. So on behalf of Coach Wilson, I'm your host, Richie Cottrell. Thank you for joining us from On the Pitch here with the head women's soccer coach, Coach Alicia Wilson. Go Bulldogs.